Good morning, everyone, and thank you all for joining us today. Before we begin, I'd like to take a moment to introduce myself. My name is Rosie Rios, and I am the chair of the United States Semiquincentennial Commission, otherwise known as America250, the organization charged by Congress with planning and orchestrating the 250th anniversary of the United States and the signing of the Declaration of Independence in 2026. Today, I'm excited to be here in Boston, the city that started it all, to commemorate the 250th anniversary of the Boston Tea Party, alongside two incredible elected leaders, Mayor Michelle Wu and Lieutenant Governor Kim Driscoll. We're incredibly grateful that you all could be here with us today. In addition, I want to extend my special thanks to the co-chairs of the Boston Tea Party 250th Anniversary Board of Advisors, Martha J. Sheridan, the President and CEO of Meet Boston, and Jim Rooney, the President and CEO of the Greater Boston Chamber of Commerce. I also want to thank Sean Ford, the Executive Director of Boston Tea Party Ships and Museum, and Nate Shedley, the President and CEO of Revolutionary Spaces, for joining us. Finally, I want to thank the National Park Service, who is a member of our commission, for hosting us here at Faneuil Hall, which is a National Park Service historic site. We're proud that the National Park Service is an ex officio member of the U.S. Semiquincentennial Commission, and we are grateful for their partnership. As the chair of America250, it is my honor to be here today to mark the first historic milestone in the countdown to the 250th anniversary of the United States in 2026. The Boston Tea Party stands tall as a watershed moment in our shared story, a catalyst for the Revolutionary War, and the first steps towards the foundation of our nation. It symbolizes the spirit of resistance and the desire for self-determination that has been at the heart of the American experiment since its inception. Within that desire for self-determination comes the drive to dream bigger, to create a better future for our children, as my mom did when she came from Mexico in 1958 to California. I know that this is something that resonates with all of us today. We all have hopes and dreams for our family's future and for the future of our country, just as those sons and daughters of liberty did 250 years ago. That's why commemorating historical milestones like the Boston Tea Party are so important. They're not just about looking back. This is as much about the future as it is the past, and especially to inspire this next generation of leadership. As we approach July 4th, 2026, I hope we all can do just that. Take the time to reflect on the values that have shaped our nation and consider the challenges and opportunities that lie ahead. We can be more perfect. Despite the deep divisions of our country, this milestone, this chance for reflection, is something all of us can do together. In fact, that's why we launched America's Invitation this summer, a national public engagement effort which is an opportunity for all Americans to reflect on our past and share our hopes and dreams for the future. Since we rolled out this program last 4th of July, we've received submissions from across the country in the forms of videos, photos, essays, and poems, all sharing their unique perspective of what it means to be American. As we approach our 250th and the celebrations tomorrow, we would encourage everyone here to share your own unique stories with us by visiting America250.org. By coming together, reflecting on our history, and imagining what our future can look like, we can help create a portrait of America at 250 that can be passed down to future generations. Now, as we prepare to celebrate the 250th anniversary of the Boston Tea Party, I want to extend our deep gratitude to the organizers here with us today. Creating commemorations like this are an integral part to the planning effort for the 250th anniversary of the United States. Over the next 2.5 years, the America250 organization plans to have events like this, one where we mark historic milestones that pave the way towards the founding of the United States. America250 will support and work in partnership with states and territories across the country to orchestrate opportunities like this weekend, and we hope you will join us for all of it. As we approach July 4th, 2026, I invite you all again to visit our website at America250.org to be a part of this effort to commemorate our past, our present, and our hopes and dreams for the future. Thank you for joining us in commemorating the Boston Tea Party and the broader Semiquincentennial. Together, we will make history and ensure this anniversary is truly unforgettable. And now, it is my honor to introduce Mayor Michelle Wu.
Thank you so much, Rosie, for your very powerful remarks and for your leadership as we collectively look back on and, more importantly, look ahead to all of the next steps that are still needed at this moment in our country. Welcome, everyone, to Faneuil Hall, the seat of birthplace of American democracy, and welcome to a very important moment in our country's history. I am incredibly honored always to share the stage with these leaders representing us at the state level and promoting Boston's reputation and welcoming community all across the world. So thank you to Lieutenant Governor Kim Driscoll and all that the Healy-Driscoll administration is doing. I see Secretary Yvonne Howe out in the audience as well. Thank you to all of our partners who make sure that we have, just from Army, Navy on through, the excitement that both connects our community members here to the world-class entertainment and economic opportunities, but also is a place for people from all around the world to really see themselves reflected in our city and our country's history. And thank you so much to Jim and everyone who's involved on the business side for making sure that we have that commitment to being a city for everyone is reflected in how we are continuing to shape and grow our economy locally as well. It is my honor to welcome you here as we celebrate the 250th anniversary of the Boston Tea Party. For more than a decade, the amazing staff at the Boston Tea Party Ships and Museum have been stewards of this important history. And for those who might not have been before, when you visit the museum, you get a little card. On one side is a story of one of the hundreds of people who participated in sending a resounding message to the crown. And on the other side, the card lays out the challenges of that time: taxation without representation, oppression, tyranny under British rule. And beneath that, it poses a question: are you willing to do what it takes to defend your liberties? It's a big question. And the Boston Tea Party reminds us that the answer lies in the power of ordinary people coming together to do the extraordinary. It's a reminder for all of us, not just here in the United States, but all over the world, that democracy is action, doing what's right, no matter the odds, for our friends, our family, our home, our future. That fierce refusal to sit by and do nothing when so much is needed has made Boston a proud city of firsts in so many ways. The first public school, the first public subway system, the first public library in the nation. And every day across the globe, we see that same spirit alive in movements and demonstrations for racial justice, for climate action, for freedom, for peace. These are the sparks of democracy. And for 250 years, Boston has continued to stoke its flames. In the abolition movement that was born and took root here, in the movement for people before highways, when Boston residents planted themselves between their homes and their schools and oncoming bulldozers, in grilling food and playing music and building Tent City in the parking lot in the South End to protest urban renewal, in the 20,000 strong who marched from Roxbury to to the Common with Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. singing and chanting songs about freedom, the fire of democracy has burned bright here in Boston. And it lives on in the coalition of Boston residents who continue to do this work. The neighborhood activists whose calls for community investment are resulting in walls full of books in Chinatown's first permanent branch of the Boston Public Library in more than 6 decades. In the efforts that are happening around our city for more housing, more affordability, more access to transportation, more educational opportunity, we continue to live the sparks of democracy in every part of our lives today in this city. Unlike the Constitutional Convention or the meeting of the Continental Congress, the Boston Tea Party didn't produce any documents. There were no particular signatories. And that's because the Boston Tea Party was a signature on history itself, history that was too precious and too urgent for paper. When history asked Boston in 1773 if we were willing to do what it takes to defend our liberties, we took tea leaves for ink and made the ocean our page. Our answer was clear, and it still echoes today all over the world. So as we bear witness tomorrow to the reenactment of that history, let us not ignore all the ways we are asked here and now in the present. And let us resolve that our answer remains unchanged and undimmed, strengthened by the knowledge that what it takes to defend our liberties will always be worth what preserving them brings. So thank you again to America250, the Boston Tea Party Ships and Museum, everyone who has joined us today, and everyone who will be present in celebrating our nation, our history, and the people who make it. So it is my honor now to pass it over to the Commonwealth's Lieutenant Governor, Kim Driscoll.
Thank you, Mayor. So fortunate to have you leading our city at this time. And I want to recognize some other folks who are joining us. I saw Secretary Yvonne Howe, our Secretary of Economic Development, our Mass Office of Tourism and Travel Director, Kate Fox, who was here, Representative Kush Merrick, who was here, representing members of our state legislature who are key partners in this work. I'm so grateful people have taken time out of their day to join us this morning as we kick off our amazing history in Massachusetts. And Rosie, we're so grateful to have you here as the national chair of America250 to make sure we get this right, not just here in Massachusetts, but across the nation. Thank you to America250 and the Boston Tea Party organizers for recognizing Massachusetts' leading role in our nation's birth and centering us in the commemoration of America's 250th anniversary. As the former mayor of Salem, I'm no stranger to the impact that history has had on our communities and our economy. Frankly, it's an embarrassment of riches here in Massachusetts when it comes to history, and we are here for all of it. As Lieutenant Governor, I'm honored to be here today to help kick off the next 3 years of America's 250th birthday celebrations. As the mayor mentioned and Rosie mentioned, our nation's story starts in this very city. It's in Boston, where we dumped thousands of pounds of tea into a harbor as a means of protest. That's how America began its journey into becoming the nation of firsts we know it to be. And it was here in Massachusetts, a state of firsts, where the idea of freedom through unity, where those ideas were formed and legacies were made. The Boston Tea Party is one of the most iconic moments in American history. Its actions and the British government's response to it, blocking our harbor, adopting the Intolerable Acts, and so much more, that's what served to the catalyst that led to the individual colonies coming together and uniting in support of each other, all of which eventually led to the forming of the Continental Congress and the American Revolution, and so on and so on. How fortunate are we to be able to take in that very history on streets that many before us walked on, in the harbor where that tea was dumped, in a building like this. Not every state has this rich tapestry of cultural assets and historic preservation opportunities that we have right here. And the fact that it was began by regular people, people who felt unheard and unrepresented and just said enough is enough, makes it even more special. They stood up to injustice, and in the process, proved that ordinary people could rise up and change the world. They simply had the courage and the fortitude to do it. It's that stick-to-itiveness that Massachusetts is known for. It's been 250 years, but we haven't lost that spirit, and we haven't forgotten our legacy. Here in Massachusetts, we continue to stand against injustices, and we remain committed to protecting fundamental rights. Here in Massachusetts, we'll always defend the freedom to be who you are, to love who you love, to get the opportunity and the care you deserve with dignity and respect. As we stand here today and we reflect on our nation's history, it's important that we recognize the voices and the people who didn't always make it into our history books when we were kids. The Native American people who were here first and who are still proudly here and cherished members of our community and who too often are left out of the lessons that we learn in schools. The African American people who were enslaved and shut out of opportunity, yet still helped create our culture, build our economy, and defend our nation. The women who were not allowed to vote, the LGBTQ people who could not live as their true selves, and so many others. Injustice and inequality are not new concepts, but our commitment to intentionality, working against them, well, that's grown, and we must include their stories as central to our history now. We want to be sure that those who make up our great city, our great Commonwealth, and our country feel represented in our government and our history and are always included as we move forward. That's the spirit of the Boston Tea Party alive in our state today. It's also why we're so excited to be hosting events like these in Massachusetts, where we believe in true liberty and justice for all. So as we kick off the next 3 years of 250th milestones, cannot wait, so excited. We're using our nation's birthday not only as an opportunity to reflect on our past, but as a chance to welcome people from across the country to come to Massachusetts to celebrate their American story as well. We want to use the 250th anniversary of the American Revolution as a catalyst to increase not only travel and tourism to Massachusetts, but to showcase our unique history in the formation of this nation. It is all around us. You can come here and see it. No other state has the many assets that we have, this rich tapestry to tap into, not just to celebrate the 250th, but to remind us every day how lucky we are to live here, to visit here, to go to school here, to work here, to uplift this amazing place. Earlier this week, we celebrated our new economic development plan, Team Massachusetts, Leading Future Generations. Our Secretary Howell likes to refer to it as LFG. We all know what that means in Massachusetts too. And in it, we've outlined several strategic priorities that are going to lead to a stronger Massachusetts, but we made it a point to detail our support for America's 250th. Through our Office of Travel and Tourism, again led by Kate Fox, who's here, no stranger to marketing history in particular, as the former Destination Salem CEO and director. We will be hiring and have hired a new 250th Special Events Coordinator, and in partnership with the legislature's 250th Commission, we'll be planning statewide celebrations beginning in 2024 and obviously culminating with the events of 2025 and 2026. This presents us with an opportunity to amplify the underrepresented stories from the Revolution and increase the international and domestic visitation numbers to our great Commonwealth, including groups and students. It's going to be a catalyst for a new and exciting era in our tourism economy in a way that we can make sure we're thinking about how we market and promote Massachusetts comprehensively. Every city has a story to tell. Every town has played a role in making not only Massachusetts the place that it is, but so much about our nation and the place that it is. And we know through it all, it's also going to create good jobs and business opportunities across our state, give us a chance to tell that full story, because Massachusetts history is American history. It happened here on the very streets we walk on today and the waterfronts we enjoy. And for all those reasons, we are so excited and committed to making Massachusetts the hub of the national celebration of America's 250th anniversary. We're proud to be home to so many historical events, and we look forward to commemorating our nation's 250th over the next 3 years, starting with this weekend's reenactment and celebrations. It now gives me great pleasure to introduce a person who's no stranger to this room and to the work that we have done in Massachusetts to continue to be a place that people come to visit, and that's CEO of Meet Boston, Martha Sheridan, who's been doing outstanding work ensuring that when people come and visit here, they know what to do, how to do it, and have a great experience. So grateful to be in partnership with you on this new adventure, Martha.
Thank you, Lieutenant Governor, and thank you for your leadership in tourism. From the moment you took office, you have stated that you are committed to this industry, and we are so grateful for that. I also want to thank the mayor and key leaders of her team, John Borders IV and Shagun Idowu, who have been great partners in this industry. And I was fortunate enough to travel with John this year, and boy, that was fun, and I'll talk a little bit about that later as we commemorated the 250th over in London. I'm really pleased to be here along with my partners in celebrating the 250th of the Boston Tea Party, my co-chair Jim Rooney, who you'll hear from shortly, of course, Sean Ford, whose passion for this event is overwhelming and I would say infectious. And then, of course, Nat from Revolutionary Spaces, who's in his own right developed some extraordinary events around the celebration of this. Most importantly, I want to thank America250 for choosing this event to commemorate and launch your efforts around the U.S. As a tourism professional who is very engaged nationally, locally and nationally, I meet with my counterparts regularly, and you know, the celebration of the birthplace of the freedom of the United States is something that is top of mind for all of us. And to have Boston be the place where you're launching those efforts for the next few years is extraordinarily humbling, but also appropriate as we launch into this weekend of celebrating one of the first events that started off the American Revolution. We've been really fortunate here in Boston to have great partners that are working with us in these types of events. I want to acknowledge my chairman, Dan Donahue, the president and CEO of the Saunders Hotel Group, who has been incredibly committed both with our investments, but also our time, so that we can ensure that this event goes off without a hitch this weekend, and rightfully launches the American 250 celebration. 2026 promises to be an absolutely extraordinary year in the United States and North America. Not only are we celebrating the 250th anniversary of the birth of this great country, but we will also welcome the world to the United States, as 11 US cities and 5 other cities in North America will host the World Cup. We will literally have millions of people from across the globe coming to the US, and what better time for them to come here than when we are celebrating what makes this country so great. So it's a convergence of many great things, and I want to also acknowledge Dusty Rhodes and her efforts, because we will also be welcoming, I know, Mayor, I'm really sorry about this, but you'll have to put extra people on duty that week, the tall ships, during that same time period. So what a beautiful convergence to have ships from across the globe coming to Boston, when we also will have soccer fans and teams from across the globe here. So we will be able to align, hopefully, some of those visiting ships with some of the teams playing here. What a culmination of all the hard work that's starting right now. For the past couple of years, I've had the privilege of working as the co-chair of the 250th of the Boston Tea Party ship, and I've worked alongside Jim and many others, and it has been an extraordinary experience. As I mentioned earlier, we had the privilege of traveling across the pond earlier this fall to meet with the East India Tea Company and produce some really great media events over there. And it was almost a pinch me moment, where you've worked so hard to get to this point, and then the reality hits. And I can't imagine what it's going to be like this weekend here in Boston. I know I'm hearing from people from across the country that are coming here. They want to spend the night in Boston, experience what we have to offer, and having America250 here to join us in that celebration, again, is the icing on the cake. So I want to thank everyone in this room. There are many of you that have been a part of this extraordinary experience. We look forward to what's about to happen tomorrow and over the next 3 years. And it gives me great pleasure right now to introduce my partner as co-chair of the 250th celebration of the Boston Tea Party, Jim Rooney, the President and CEO of the Boston Chamber of Commerce. Thank you.
All right. All right, thank you, Martha. It's an honor to serve as co-chair of the 250th anniversary of the Boston Tea Party with Martha, a good friend and colleague in many endeavors in the business and tourism space. Thank you to Sean Ford, the advisory board, and all the people and businesses who helped plan, support, and make this 250th anniversary incredible. Now, I know in my role as president and CEO of the Chamber, that's one of the reasons why Sean asked me to co-chair, but as you've listened for a minute now, you know the real reason is because I have the best Boston accent of anyone up on the stage. You know, and yeah, it is, right? I win that. You know, more importantly, Sean knows that I'm willing to wear the tie that he gave me from the Boston Tea Party ships and museums as well. But he also knows this is deeply personal to me. I grew up about a mile from where the Boston Tea Party occurred, on Dorchester Heights, where George Washington drove the British out of Boston Harbor. I walked by the icon of the Dorchester Heights Memorial and the Tea Party ships and many other symbols of revolution that occurred here in Boston my whole formative life as a young boy growing up here. So this is deeply personal to me. And I'm glad that we're able to have this celebration. I'm also pleased that Mayor Wu and Lieutenant Governor Driscoll were so able to capture the spirit and meaning of the Tea Party event here in Boston and how it's carried itself forward. Now, in order to get a little more energy into the room today, one of the things I've learned from Sean and his team is when you hear something in a public forum like this for which you want to give affirmation and support, there's something that we all show. So I want you to recognize the words of the mayor and the lieutenant governor with a nice huzzah. Huzzah! Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Lieutenant Governor. So I'm excited to welcome the visitors from around the world to Boston, where even to this day, as others have said, they can experience the grit and courage of the Boston Tea Party. And the people and businesses of Boston are eager to welcome you and celebrate with you. We celebrate this anniversary because we are inspired by the bold actions of the Boston Tea Party. Our city has continued the tradition of boldness. We still lead, as others have said, in innovation and impact with our life-saving healthcare, legacy of sports championships, industries that lead the world, that set the stage really for everything that happens in this country and beyond. This is the place that we must celebrate the Boston Tea Party. But Rosie, there's no better place to celebrate the 250th anniversary of this country in just a few years than right here in Boston. It all starts here. It's where you can see and feel our revolutionary heart in the air, in the harbor, in our buildings, in our streets, and of course in our people. Tomorrow's kickoff commemoration event will be the first of many celebrations. Continue to join us for more events, reenactments, and the evening's convenings. Enjoy this weekend, but more importantly, take the moment to reflect on what this moment means to all of us, as I do every day. Now I'll pass it to my friend Sean Ford, Executive Director of the Boston Tea Party Ships and Museums. But before I do, I will reflect on the fact that 13 years ago, there was no Boston Tea Party Ship and Museum. It had burnt down, and it had laid that way for many, many years. Sean and his team felt that we needed that. We needed that memorial to celebrate that history here in Boston, and he got it done. It's a great attraction. It's a great way for people to learn about what happened that day. He made that happen. He made it successful. He's a great leader in the tourism community here in Boston. So it's my pleasure to introduce Sean Ford.
Hello, everybody. One more day. One more day. It was just a year ago we launched our launch of the Boston Tea Party 250th anniversary. And when we launched that, we had some goals that we wanted to accomplish. And those were bringing international awareness to Boston Tea Party and to Boston's pivotal role in the lead up to the American Revolution, to create dynamic, inclusive, collaborative programming to encourage public education, conversation, and engagement. We also engage with school systems, educational institutions, both locally and internationally, to encourage visitation to the City of Boston, the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, affiliated organizations, museums, hotels, attractions, and communities. Simply put, our goal was to put Boston on the world stage for this anniversary and all 250th anniversaries later. We did that. It was a lot of work, a lot of people I need to thank. I want to talk about two programs that I just mentioned that we did that created a lot of worldwide attention. The first was our Grave Marker project. This has been about 2.5 years in the making. What we did, we placed commemorative markers at all the known participants of the Boston Tea Party. We placed the last grave marker this past November at the gravesite of Sam Adams, the architect of the Boston Tea Party. This brought and involved communities, dignitaries, descendants to all these programs. I'm glad to say that was one of the biggest programs and accomplishments we did leading up to tomorrow night. The other program that really got a lot of awareness and had people participating from all over the world that could not be here tomorrow for the reenactment, we put an invitation out to the world to send us your tea, so we will take your tea, put it in our crates, and use it in the destruction of the tea on the 250th anniversary. When that is done, everyone who donated the tea, over 7,000 people to date, they will receive a certificate of authenticity in recognition of that tea was used in the destruction of the tea. We also have received 250 pounds of East India Tea Company tea they're giving us to destroy. And this time, they gave us their permission. And we're gonna dump it. So tomorrow is the culmination of a lot of work. And I really want to thank, there's a gentleman here, Mr. Evan O'Brien. Where are you, Evan? The creative manager for the Boston Tea Party Ships and Museum. And his team, Kelly and Josiah. Thank you very much. I could never have done this without you. All right, that's quick. Now it's my pleasure to introduce a great partner in this year's anniversary, Mr. Nat Shidley, President and CEO of Revolution Spaces. Thank you.
Thank you, Sean, and thanks to all of you for being here this morning. I am Nat Shidley. I'm the President and CEO of Revolutionary Spaces. Our organization is the nonprofit organization that cares for the old State House, where the elected representatives of the towns of Massachusetts gathered in order to coordinate resistance to measures coming out of England and to reach out to other colonies to coordinate the first pieces of what would become the American Union. And we also care for the Old South Meeting House, where the meetings of the body of the people took place during the 3 weeks leading up to the night of December 16th, 1773. And it's important for us to recall that the protests that took place that night were the culmination of an arc of dialogue within the community that was necessary in order to fashion a sense of shared purpose that could guide those who went out and took action on the night of December 16th. So we are so grateful for, Sean, your leadership and that of your team in coordinating a fantastic weekend of commemorative activities that are coming up tomorrow. We are deeply grateful to America250 for being here with us to kick off this important commemoration at the start of an arc of commemorative activities that will take us to and through 2026. We are mindful at Revolutionary Spaces that our sites are just part of the riches that Boston has as we look ahead to the commemorations to come. Boston is fortunate to be rich in witness sites that bore witness not only to the events of the American Revolution, but to those many other steps that our speakers have already alluded to that followed the revolution, as Americans in every generation took the legacy of that moment 250 years ago and continued to advocate for representation, for equal rights, to make a more perfect union. So we are very proud to be working in partnership with all of those folks who care for these historic sites as well, and many of them are in the room today. And we're grateful to the National Parks of Boston and the National Park Service for their work in coordinating the efforts of many of those organizations. I see Paul Revere House is represented here today, the Museum of the Museum of African American History, also Old North Church and the USS Constitution, the USS Constitution Museum. So we have these fantastic riches that Boston will be leveraging as we move through the next several years of commemoration. I'm grateful to Mayor Michelle Wu and her administration for thinking about not just how to leverage those sites, but how to leverage the other resource that Boston has, which is the incredible diversity of its citizens, and think about how we can engage neighborhoods all across this city in remembering this history in a way that can tie us together and help move us forward. I'm grateful to the Commonwealth of Massachusetts for thinking about how to engage every town in the Commonwealth in the work of commemoration. So we've got a lot of work ahead of us, but right now it's about what's coming this weekend. So excited about the grand scale reenactment that has been more than a year in the making. We're excited about the piece of it that will happen at Old South Meeting House, our interactive reenactment of the meeting of the body of the people. And as Sean said, this is really the culmination of a whole year of commemorative activities mounted by Revolutionary Spaces, the Tea Party Ships and Museum, and all of those other partners who have been involved in this undertaking, including Revolution250 that's here with us in the room today. This has been about exploring the meaning and the legacies of this important part of our founding story. And as several of our fellow speakers have said so eloquently, the activities this weekend, the commemorations that will be mounted throughout Boston and throughout the Commonwealth and across the country during the next 3 years have incredible potential, right? They have the potential to spark curiosity, to drive travel and tourism, to promote economic opportunity. But more importantly, they are an opportunity to awaken renewed interest in our founding story and engage all Americans in the unfinished work that began here in Boston 250 years ago. Old South Meeting House represents a tangible connection to a set of enduring questions that took shape 250 years ago. Who speaks for me? How is my voice heard? What is my recourse if my voice is silenced or overlooked? These same questions still sit at the center of our civic life. And the unfinished work of grappling with them is a responsibility that belongs to us all. Our founding story represents a precious resource, a resource that we need to reach for in this vital project. It's a tool that can help to define ourselves, that can inspire us to work together to build a stronger, richer, more inclusive, and more equitable future. So I am proud to be part of this work. I am proud to be standing with all those on the stage here today. And I hope that the commemorative activities taking place this weekend and that have unfolded throughout this amazing year can serve as a model for what is possible as we look ahead to 2026. Thank you.
That is exactly right. This is the model for how we should think about this amazing journey that we're all going to take together, and it starts here. I want to thank everyone again, Mayor Michelle Wu, Lieutenant Governor Driscoll, and everyone here for joining us this morning. This is truly exciting, and just a reminder on how this is all starting. Yesterday, I had a chance to be a speaker at a naturalization ceremony that took place in this room. 338 people took the oath of citizenship from 77 countries because they know that this is still the land of opportunity. This is about us as a nation being the oldest democracy in the world, and it's going to continue on, not just for the next 2.5 years, and it's great, absolutely, that the World Cup is happening here in 2026, but let's remember the Olympics are also happening 2 years later in 2028 in Los Angeles. So these themes, these beautiful threads that are coming together today are going to continue on long past 2026. And so I'd like to end this morning session with a couple of things. One, I know we're going to take a photo together, which I'm thrilled. Is that going to be on stage or down there? On stage, okay. And then, but we're first, we're going to show you a video that was created as part of our very first initiative called America's Invitation that I referenced, that we launched this last July 4th. And the purpose of this video is exactly that. It's inviting the American public to take this journey with us, to share their videos, their stories, etc., on what it means to be American and how we should be commemorating these milestones together. So with that, we will show the video.
After 247 years, you could say, I've seen some things. Building a democracy from scratch, it isn't easy. Or being home to hundreds of millions from everywhere on Earth. Fact is, there have been challenges since the very beginning. Uphill battles, setbacks, and injustices. But you know, Americans, we got grit. We fight for what we need. And what's right. What we want for the next generation. We take care of each other when it gets rough. We inspire each other. Innovate together. Get the job done. And create so much opportunity. Heck, that's probably why folks have been inspired to come here for so long. And now, we've got a pretty big anniversary coming up. The big 250. So, in honor of that, we're launching America's Invitation. A chance to share your thoughts on our past, the heroes you love, and your dreams for the road ahead. Because your dreams will be our future. Your story is the American story.